What's up? This is my TVL Jazzmaster, and this is the second time I'm going to be replacing this volume pot here with a CTS volume pot. I did replace it already, but I kind of fucked it up. Anyways, I start the process by putting a capo on the first fret to kind of hold the strings in place, so when I remove the trem plate on the bottom there, the strings aren't like flopping around and whatnot. Yeah, I start this process out by loosening all these screws by hand and then moving over to a drill bit. And I have the drill on the lowest torque settings so I don't accidentally round out the bolt or whatever. I don't think there's an exact reason to do this. It's just like a habit. I guess I do the same thing in reverse once I put the trem plate back on the guitar. Anyways, after that I move on to the pick guard and I remove all of these guys by hand. It's very easy to strip out the wood where the actual threads grip onto the wood, so be careful with that if you decide to go through a repair like this, or even just to replace your pick guard, because so far it's all the same steps. Anywho, yeah, you do need to pop out your bridge there, and see, there we go. That is going to get in the way. You can't just leave that in there. So yeah, after you remove all 14 million screws holding down the pick guard, you're going to have to remove the screws holding the pickup covers themselves. I like removing the screws from the pickup covers because when I'm reinstalling them, the screws could accidentally scratch the pick guard. But yeah, I use this microfiber cloth here to sort of protect the finish as I flip over the pick guard onto the cloth. I can't just remove the pick guard at this point because the ground wire is attached right there. Using a soldering iron, make sure it's nice and hot. I remove just all the wiring. It all has to go. It's all being replaced. I start by doing this first ground here. It wasn't quite melting, so I put some more solder on the tip and surprise, surprise, there we go. It starts to work. So I cut this to make it look like I'm doing this a lot faster than it actually was. It took me way too long to remove it. I was cooking the fuck out of these pots, and I think that's why I might have actually damaged this pot when I first installed it. The issue it was actually showing was that when I put the volume all the way to 0, there should be no volume, out of nowhere all of the volume comes back. So there must have been some sort of short circuit or something somewhere. But anyways, now that I removed all those wires from that guy, I have to remove the actual knob. I probably should have done this earlier. But yeah, check this out. This pin is the guy from Slint, my homie Gerald gave me that. Anyways, yeah, I removed the little witch hat. I used this little fucking tool. I probably should use the right socket, but I just didn't fucking have it, and this was here, so I used that. I kind of try to be careful there to not scratch my pick guard, but whatever, it's a pick guard, so it's not that fucking deep. Cool, with that removed, I go ahead and flip this pick guard back over, and if you attempt to repair like this, I recommend being more careful than I was because I kind of broke the pickup a little bit. But anyways, before I get into that, I'm going to replace this capacitor here. This green one I'm removing, I installed here to replace the original one because I think the original one was actually the source of the original issues. But I'm going to go ahead and install this other capacitor. If I understand correctly, this new capacitor is only going to shave off the very tippity top of the frequency thing when I'm adjusting the tone pot. I'm not too sure. So far, I do kind of like it. But anyways, damn, isn't that some beautiful looking fucking solder right there? It's almost like I wasn't hammered when I was doing that. Anyways, yeah, look at these pots. There's the used one I'm taking the nut off of, and I'm putting it on the new one. This kind of acts as a spacer. The original ones did that, so I go ahead and do it. So that little leg I cut off of the capacitor, I'm going to use it here to ground. Then I'm going to scrape some of the surface on the pot here, so when I actually solder onto it, the solder itself has something to kind of grab onto. So there's some mechanical attachment connection there. Fuck, I don't know, dude. Yeah, dude, I just don't fucking know. I think I might be losing it a little bit. But anyways, using these little plier things, these little fucking things, I hold that so I don't burn my hand. Then I put some flux on here. I've never used flux with pots, but like I think at some point I read about someone saying that they use flux and it helps out with pots. I don't know. I think I noticed like a little bit of an improvement. I don't know why I'm thinking about whether or not flux actually made an improvement here is getting me kind of stressed out. But anyways, I go ahead and melt this guy down. Then I just stab the wire on through as it's like molten. And it seems to work fine. I did go back and like melt it up again because it kind of looked like a bad solder joint and it looked a little bit better afterwards. But yeah, now that that's all kind of like done and dusted, whatever, I put this brown cable through here and I twist it down a little bit so it's easier to actually solder onto it without melting all the plastic insulator on this cable. If you look closely, I'm putting the solder onto the actual cable and not just putting a lot of solder on the tip of the soldering iron. I think it gets better flow like that, maybe. I think someone on Reddit might have said that once and I just like assumed it's facts. Yeah, anywho, I scrape the fuck out of the pot up here again for the same reason I scraped it for the ground lug. It just gives it better mechanical adhesion. There I fucking go again with the flux, just to put like a fuckload of solder on there, just for it to not really make a difference. It still kind of looked like ass. This is definitely an issue because I'm using unleaded solder here. I like to think that like I am getting exposed to less toxic chemicals this way. I don't know, I think someone else on Reddit said that you're still getting hammered with like toxic chemicals in the flux. I think I'm fucked anyways. Anywho, I'm not even gonna zoom into this like that, those solder joints there. They look so bad, but trust, they are strong. I wiggled them around. Now that they are all in place, I am gonna go ahead and try to put this pick guard back on. But if you look real close, you might be able to spot that I actually broke the bridge pickup. So you can see it right there. Only one of the leads on the bridge pickup is attached to the pickup itself. Anywho, before I guess I realize that's happening, I just tightened that up a little bit. I set everything down here. This part's always fucking annoying. There's always some cable that's like between the body of the guitar and the pick guard, and it's like annoying. These foam little like door molding things are like annoying as fuck to deal with. They're kind of tedious, so I just kind of cut past that point because it's just not like interesting to look at. I don't know if any of this video is all that interesting. But anyways, right there, that's where I realized that the pickup is broken, and you can't hear it since I'm doing a voiceover, but at this point I'm like, fuck. So I try to use this thing here to fucking expose some more wire, but it doesn't work because it's cloth. And then it breaks again. It breaks away from the brass little thing there. Yeah, it's no big deal. I just like solder it all back together, even though I did panic a little bit. Boom, like new. It might even be better. That might have been the problem that I was experiencing in the very beginning. Maybe that's what made me, like the audio was cutting out. I don't think I ever even explained why I replaced the pot to begin with. But during one of my rehearsals, the audio was just cutting out like crazy, like randomly. And I thought it might have been one of the pots. But now that I'm thinking about it, I might have just been hitting this pickup. And it might have been like sometimes cutting in and cutting out, you know. It was holding on to dear life. Yeah, maybe I'm a fucking idiot. Maybe I did all of this work for nothing and it was actually just this. But whatever, I think it's still worthwhile. I like fucking around with my guitars, and now I have brand new CTS pots on both the volume and the tone, and a new capacitor. It's a different value, so I can say that this is like low-key a little custom. Anyways, I then go ahead and reinstall the pickup covers back onto the guitar. It's looking pretty decent again. Right after this, I tested out. That's why the cable is there. You can't hear it, but like it sounded fine. The fix worked. I was really relieved at this point. I get my guitar back. Yeah, anyways, I start putting all 14 billion screws back on for this Jazzmaster pickup here, and I do all of these by hand. Don't use a drill here, you're gonna destroy them. Then I put the knobs back on this. I line them up how they were beforehand, where the one is kind of like pointing at the upper right corner of the bridge pickup. So what do y'all think of this video and my commentary and whatnot? This is my first time I've ever tried making a video like this. I love tinkering around with stuff, and I thought that it would be kind of cool to document it and show people like what I'm up to and what I'm doing with these things. So yeah, if y'all are rocking with this sort of thing, let me know. If y'all are not rocking with this, also let me know. Actually, don't let me know. I changed my mind. Just keep that shit to yourself. Anyways, now that we were reinstalling the trem plate, I like starting them by hand. Just like at least a couple turns. Then I go to the drill bit, since they're so fucking obnoxiously long. The drill gets them most of the way down, but I don't actually like doing the final tightening using the drill. I do the tightening by hand because it gives me a better idea of what is going on with the threads. I can kind of feel like right when I'm about to like strip it. It's kind of hard to describe, but yeah. Anyways, I tighten it down the X pattern just like you would with a car wheel. I don't know if we have to do it, but it's just habit every time I'm doing a plate like that. Then I wipe my dirty chud finger grease off of the guitar again. So now that everything's back in place, I go ahead and remove the capo, because as it turns out, I don't actually need the capo because I have locking tuners on this guitar. It's also a thing of habit of like putting the capo on there. Because like otherwise you would want to like tune up the guitar with the capo on so the strings don't kind of like fly out of the tuners. But that was unnecessary because I have the locking tuners. Anywho, yeah, I go ahead and put the pickup height back into position as to where I like them. But yeah, thanks for watching. If you made it this far into this little experiment I got going on here. So yeah, thanks again for watching. I hope y'all have a good day. Bye.